Okay, we're going to talk about today getting a beautiful sunset watercolor wash done for our artwork. A watercolor wash is using watercolor paints, and most of y'all have done these before, but watercolor does not work until you add water. That's the key ingredient. And so with watercolors, you want to use mostly water, a little bit of paint, but the longer you twirl on your paint, the darker the color will get. You do want some transparency, which means you can kind of see through the paint. We don't want a solid fill, but you can get values with lighter and darker depending on how long you twirl your brush in your paint. And I'll show you that in a minute. One other really important technique I want you to know about today is called wet on wet. Okay, this is when we have a wet paintbrush and we also have wet paper. Okay, so we're going to be using that, and I'll show you. It's when you paint a section of your paper with water, clean water, then you get your color and you add it to the paper and it runs wherever the paper is wet. So you can see how this paint is stopping at certain places, but it really filled in that whole blob where I had water. And that's a really fun technique to use to encourage the paint colors to run together. You can also add other colors to that and it will blend and mix all together. I'm gonna grab a quick color wheel and show you something that we need to think about. So a lot of you have learned about the color wheel before, but this tells us how colors mix. So what we are going to be using is what we call analogous colors. Analogous are the ones right next to each other on the color wheel. So we're not going to be using ones that are opposite. Those are called complementary colors if they're opposite each other. The complementary colors, if they ever mix, it makes brown. So we want to stay away from that. We want to use analogous colors that blend really well together. Okay, so let's get started. We are going to be creating a sunset, and for your sunset, you want to think about what analogous colors you want to use. It could start with red and then go to red, orange and yellow, orange and yellow. You could start with blue and then transition to purple and red. It's totally up to you, or you can obviously go backwards, but you don't want to put yellow and purple right next to each other, or even purple and green next to each other. So just think about going in order of some analogous colors wherever you start. You could even go from red to blue, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so getting started on our watercolor wash, we are first going to draw a line right down here with a pencil. Okay, you don't need to paint beyond this because we're going to end up doing something else down here. Okay, so draw your line. Then I'm going to just fill up with water. And you should be mindful of what colors you want to use. You can go ahead and fill in this whole section with water. And then you want to choose 3 colors that you're going to do for your sunset. So for my color wheel, I think I might do purple to red to orange. And I'm going to start with purple at the bottom. So watch this. I'm going to twirl with my paint. And then I'm going to add my purple. If I want it a little bit darker down here at the bottom, I can add some more. Okay. And you can kind of see my paper's curled a little bit. That's because when paper gets wet and it's saturated with water, it does curl. But we're using watercolor paper and it's made to do that. Okay, I'm now gonna actually jump up to orange. I'm not putting them next to each other, but watch this. I'm gonna put it up here at the top. Okay. And then guess what I'm going to put in the middle? Look at my color wheel. I'm gonna put red. Rinse my brush, grab my red. Uh-oh. And I got a little drops, and I'll show you how to fix that in a second. So you can see the colors are kind of running together like this, and I don't mind that. I might even put a little bit more orange right here with the red to blend for a red orange. And then maybe I want to go back and make some darker purple and put down here, even where that red dripped. If you have a big accident, you can always take a paper towel like this and soak something up. And then you can keep on painting. So all you want to do is get your sunset colors finished just like that. And then we'll talk about next steps.